what's up YouTube? We're back with another one, and actually I'm in Houston, Texas right now because Ekkovision flew me out to star in their photo shoots for their new upcoming drop coming the August 8th, which if you use code DELTS, send me a DM on Instagram and I'll get back to you. But nonetheless, dude, today's topic, I really want to cover dieting, especially dive into rapid fat loss and how we can maximize fat loss while preserving or maintaining muscle. Now, I am going to go into detail about other dieting, about how we can maximize our growth given our circumstances with regular deficits, and what we can do, how to maintain performance, all of that stuff with regular deficit dieting stuff. But I really want to spend more portion on rapid fat loss because it's a very interesting approach, because you can utilize these fat loss phases so well into different circumstances. Like, let's say you got a wedding, or you're actually prepping, you're falling behind, and you just shred fat as soon and as fast as possible. You can do that while still keeping and maintaining muscle. I think people get fixated on diets and deficits about like, oh, I want to continue to grow muscle while being in a deficit, which is perfectly fine. That's a different goal, but we got to switch the goalposts depending on what you want. So is it maximize fat loss, or do you just want to lose fat and gain muscle? But anyways, I'm going to section this video off in different sections, with the first section going to be about rapid fat loss and what it is and how we can do it, how can we do it sustainably, and all of that stuff. But anyways, first I'm going to record my full body session here at this amazing gym, which I'm going to put first. Then we're going to talk about the different topics and then go around my day here in Houston, because it's absolutely beautiful and I want to tag you guys along with my journey here. But nonetheless, let's get in there and let's go film this full body session, baby. Let's go.
Beautiful, aren't they? No one even knows they exist. There's a monster inside all of us. Real power doesn't come to those who are born strongest or fastest or smartest. It comes to those who will do anything to achieve it.
Protect you! First night! Do you know how I hate the rain? If your heart is troubled, the skies will become cloudy. If you grieve, it will rain ever so easily.
Bro, it's generally so hot. My perception of effort is so high. I'm exhausted. So please bear with me with my sets. My sets are probably going to look like garbage, especially this pendulum squat. I am not loading a lot of weight, dude. I am absolutely exhausted. Houston weather is legit no joke.
I wonder if you can understand the fear of being rained on in this lonely world. To stop that rain, I shall lend you any strength, any power. If you just have faith in me, I will not allow any rain to fall upon this world.
Okay, I just finished my full body session. I did calves, but I forgot to record it. But everything that I did, I tried to get in like the 5 to 9 rep range, but it's so hot in here. My perception of effort is so high, so there's a lot of those sets were just half-assed, bro. Half-assed. Oh, that was one of the worst lifts I've had in a while. It's just so hot. But I do one set of literally everything, 0 to 2, 0 to 1 RIR, depending on what I'm doing. Like, since I am doing a rapid fat loss, sometimes I'll take the first couple sets just to 2 RIR. But anyways, everything's one set except for the ab crunch I do 2 sets on. It's because there's no other really movement for the abs other than that. And I usually do 2 exercises per muscle group, try to, 1 set. But yeah, whew. Bro, we just went to the craziest like meat place of all time. Genuinely amazing. And right now we're at Target getting some snacks. We're gonna go watch the brand new Spider-Man movie. I am so hyped, dude. So hyped.
This place may seem like a...
Just finished Spider-Man. I'm a die-hard Spider-Man fan, but no spoilers. No spoilers, but that's it. Yo, what are we doing, bro?
It's okay, I'll be logged in the second I come back home. We got Panda Express, one more meal, it'll be good.
Short-term overfeeding papers, bro. This is going straight to my glycogen reserves. Literally straight to it, man. Bro. So I'm actually back from Houston, Texas. I'm back in Pennsylvania. And I forgot to finish the video about rapid fat loss, so we're going to go into it right now. So what is rapid fat loss? Rapid fat loss is to maximize fat loss while maintaining muscle. And we use these rapid fat loss phases or approaches to lose fat as fast and as quick as possible. Key term there, I said maintain muscle, because the whole point, we want to maintain the muscle we have now. And it's actually super easy to maintain muscle we actually have on our body if we do appropriate approaches and ways around it. So the original rapid fat loss approach diet is called as protein sparing modified fast, PSMF for short. So essentially, it is a severe caloric restriction diet. So the only macronutrient that we're actually focused on is protein. Oh, what about carbs and fats? Okay, there's only 2 essential macronutrients. There is protein and then there's fats. But within fats, there's only 2 lipids that are actually essential, omega-3s and omega-6s. But for short-term fat loss approaches like this diet is going to be, because you're not supposed to do it long-term, it's supposed to be like, unless you're doing a modified approach of it and getting enough dietary fats into your diet, it's supposed to be incorporated into phases like every other day, 2-week periods. Then you have a little break where you eat close to maintenance or still in a deficit, just because it's not sustainable. But if you do a modified approach to this, which I'm going to explain a little bit later, you can eat dietary fats, so you can actually sustain it a bit longer. But if you're doing the original protein sparing modified fast, it's supposed to be in different approaches. Like I'm doing the PSMF right now and my dietary fats are very low, but every 2 weeks or week when I feel like I just need a little bit more calories, I will have a day or 2 where I'm close to maintenance. Back to what I was saying about omega-3s and omega-6s. Luckily for us, we actually can store enough omega-6s in body fat. Our body fat is super effective at storing omega-6s, so we can live without getting omega-6s short term. And plus, if we eat a lot of protein in our diet for this diet, fasting, whatever you want to call it, we're getting enough trace elements of omega-6s. But omega-3s, our body fat cannot store it as effectively, so we're gonna have to supplement it. Either you're gonna eat your protein sources with fish, or you're just gonna supplement it with omega-3s. If you wanna look up the exact omega-3s you need for this diet, I'd recommend just looking it up, because it's going to be equivalent to your body weight, etc. Oh, what about carbohydrates? Well, carbohydrates are not essential. They're great for performance, they're great for athleticism, they're great for brain function, but they are not needed to live, because we can make glucose in our body called gluconeogenesis. Is it effective? No. But for this approaches, we're trying to maintain muscle mass as much as possible, right? While losing fat as fast as possible. So there's different ranges you can go with how to increase your protein, but in severe caloric restrictions, we have papers showing that higher protein diets are able to maintain muscle mass more effectively. If you are a beginner, you can start off with just 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. And if you're more experienced, more advanced in the gym, I'd push it a little bit higher, more so 1.2 to like 1.6 grams per pound of lean body mass, right? So for me, that's about like 210, 220 grams of protein on my diet, but I'm doing a modified version of it. So my modified version of it is that I have a little bit more carbohydrates on training days because I'm doing full body every other day. And this is where splits come into play, right? How splits come into effect with this is that I would recommend doing full body. There's no way you're going to be able to train consecutive training days while on this severe caloric restriction on rapid fat loss. So full body twice a week is enough, all right? The whole point is to be as lazy as possible while getting the maximum benefit from it. But if you're going to get your steps in, right, do your cardio, I do recommend doing a modified version of it. Like my modified version of it is 1,200 calories rest day, then 1,600 calories training day. So since I'm doing every other day, on my training day, I'm only having carbohydrates before I lift, and I'm having about like 80 grams, and that's it. And that is enough to actually maintain performance in the gym. You actually don't need a lot of carbohydrates to maintain performance. The whole key term here is maintain. Obviously, I also recommend supplementing your minerals and vitamins through supplementation because that's going to come in handy a lot. Like I said, the whole point is to just drop calories as much as possible while trying to maintain muscle mass. So you just want to increase the protein to the ratios I said before. Eat whole foods, and you can also have vegetables. I recommend having vegetables for also fiber as well. And also, if you get the vegetables that hold a lot of water, right, that's a lot of volume and it's more sustainable. It's really hard to come off this diet and keep the weight off just simply because of sustainability. But if we add in whole foods and eat it with whole foods, it becomes a lot easier because we have papers on protein sparing modified fats where they only do a liquid diet because it's super easy to control. They actually gain more weight back after the diet compared to the participants that were doing whole food approaches. So for me, like let's say I'm eating a bunch of chicken, right? I'll have a bunch of broccoli with that as well. And that's gonna have some trace elements of carbs. Also have some protein as well. And it keeps me full. And I have really no issues with appetite, even going this low in calories. I absolutely love these approaches, rapid fat loss approaches, because you can utilize it for however you want. You can modify it for however you want. Like if you want to do it like 2 days on, 1 day off, you can. Or if you want to run it 2 weeks straight, you absolutely can. Or if you even want to do it, I know Simon Nelson did an entire month of it, lost like 15 pounds in 20 days on his approach, but he's doing 1,100 calories, so he's doing a modified version of it, so it's more sustainable. But the original protein sparing modified fast is just eating just straight whole food proteins with some vegetables, right? That is it. But if you want to do, like I said earlier, have some carbs before you train, before you do a full body session, you absolutely can. That's what I do, and I find it more sustainable. How can somebody actually utilize a rapid fat loss? Like, when should you do it, all right? For example, if you are doing prep for a bodybuilding show and you do not think you are lean enough, or your show's too close and you got to get shredded ASAP, rapid fat loss approach is going to be your best way possible. And obviously you can modify it however you want, however you feel the need to do so. Let's say you have a wedding next month and you just shred a couple pounds. Boom, there you go. Let's say you have, I don't know, you just have to get lean for something. The beach is up, boom, right there. Like, those are things that you can apply this rapid fat loss approach to be at, to lose fat as fast as possible for an event or something, which is exactly why I'm doing the protein sparing modified fast or modified version of it, just because my bodybuilding show is in a couple months and I'm not lean enough. So I just want to be really far ahead. Now, I did say I was going to talk about regular dieting in the beginning of this video. I want to talk about maximizing hypertrophy with the circumstances of our diets. How can we do this? Instead of focusing on protein, because we're not in starvation mode, we can keep our protein at the 1.63 kg per body weight, or a little bit more if you want, like the 1.63 to 2 grams per kg of body weight, compared to earlier in the protein sparing modified fast where I said pounds. Key distinction there. You can allocate the rest into carbs, get your baseline of fats. I also want to add earlier how fats are still very important, even if it's not just omega-3s and omega-6s, because we actually need fat for proper bio-release for hormones. That's why it's also not sustainable to do the original protein sparing modified fast for a very long time. So that's why taking breaks, getting some fats, maybe getting some carbs in is very good for that. But for dieting, for maximizing hypertrophy, given the circumstance of your deficit of like your 300, 500 calorie deficit, you just want to allocate those carbs centered around your training. I would like, okay, if you were working out in the morning per se, I would have more carbs the day before at night, compared to if you were working out midday or later in the day, I would have majority of your carbs before you lift, right? Those carbohydrates are gonna be very important. And overall, just getting your daily carbohydrate intake on those small deficits will preserve performance and increase performance as much as possible, given the fact that you're in a deficit. A deficit, you are not going to maximize hypertrophy given the 300, 500 calorie deficit, just because basal MPS is going to be reduced. But if you do want to maximize hypertrophy in a deficit, you absolutely can. And it's just going like 100 to 200 calories below maintenance, because there's not enough evidence to suggest that that small of a deficit, like going 100 calories under maintenance, is going to decrease basal protein synthesis or increase AMPK, which is going to hinder hypertrophy. But we do have papers showing deeper and deeper efforts do cause a reduction in basal MPS. So if you're just trying to maximize hypertrophy, given the circumstances of your deficit, of your 300, 500, whatever deficit you're doing, allocate for carbohydrates. That's carbohydrates before you lift, and have a good amount of total carbohydrates. But you gotta understand, like, deficits are also on a continuum. Like I said earlier, rapid fat loss is a very extreme aggressive deficit in starvation mode. You can also do aggressive deficits to where it's not in starvation, like even like a 800 calorie deficit. You could do that. I'd still recommend allocating carbohydrates, but instead of focusing more on total daily caloric intake of carbohydrates, I'd focus on allocating it before we lift. Because after we exercise, we cause muscle damage, right? That muscle damage kind of prevents glucose from being uptaken in the higher threshold fibers, the fibers that actually we care about. Essentially, you can't really uptake glucose in those fibers. That's why I think post-workout carbohydrates directly after training is overrated. But having carbs sometime after is still important. But that's why I say allocate most of your carbohydrates before we lift to maximize performance given our deficit, and maybe have a couple after we lift. But obviously in more aggressive deficits, you might have to reallocate that and have all your carbs before you lift. I'd rather you maximize your performance, sustain blood glucose, than refill muscle glycogen any day of the week. Any day of the week when you're in more of those aggressive deficits that aren't starvation mode. And if you're lifting midday or later in the day, it's not like the carbohydrates you consume before that leading up to your lift aren't going to be sucked up with the muscle glycogen, as they will be. Then someone's going to come around and say, oh, but the GL24 is enhanced. It's on the surface of the cell membrane after you exercise. First of all, you'd have to prove to me glucose uptake is fast enough before damage sets in, because almost immediately, directly after exercise, like resistance training exercise, calpain's already activated, but they don't begin to actually tear down myosin and actin until like an hour or so after training. But they can still be active and break down some potential protein structure around the GL24. And also, I'm also going to add this in, digestion is significantly slowed down after resistance training. So since digestion is significantly reduced, that absorption is going to take a little bit longer, because you need the carbs to get into your intestines before they actually get soaked up. So the absorption uptake is a lot slower than you think. So the question is, even with the enhanced GL24, is it quick enough with all these variables to uptake glucose? You're still going to be able to uptake some glucose and some fibers, but is it significant enough to actually increase next day's performance or recovery? I would say no, because we actually have papers doing this and showing no difference in muscle growth or performance. So I kind of find it pointless to allocate carbs directly after training, but at least have some during the duration after you're done lifting at some point, unless you're doing that aggressive deficit, like 1,800 calorie deficit. Regardless, you're probably still going to get trace elements of carbohydrates with your eating. so it doesn't really matter in my opinion. The key takeaway, allocate most of your carbs pre-lift, have a good amount of carbohydrates throughout the day if you're in a normal deficit. More aggressive deficits, allocate most, if not all, your carbohydrates in the period leading up to your lift. If you work out in the morning, allocate carbs at night, the day before. And once you wake up, I would have some type of carbohydrate. So that's basically the premises of just trying to build muscle, maximize muscle, or whatever your approach is in regular deficits. But yeah, that is basically everything I want to cover about rapid fat loss and regular dieting.